How y'all doing? I'm live on both um, YouTube and Instagram right now, and I'm about to jump right in our topic for today. My name is Brittnei C. I am your favorite nonprofit strategist. I am a Score Houston workshop presenter and CEO of Right Division Plainly LLC, my company, where I empower nonprofit and nonprofit organizations and businesses to get the funding they need from the start. So that's a little bit about me and who I am and what it is that I do. Um, so if I keep turning my head over this way, I'm acknowledging Instagram, just FYI. So today I'm just jumping right in because I know time is short and I want you guys to get back to your day and enjoy it. And I do apologize for my tardiness. I'm going to be talking about the fate of the federal grant freeze in the future, part three. I already did part one with my friend and partner, Noura from NowMedia TV. And that episode is going to air next week, either on Tuesday or on Thursday. But whenever it does air, I'll be sure to let you guys either know, tune in live, send you guys the link, things of that nature. The second part we talked about was yesterday on LinkedIn, and I already provided the link in the description to this video. I haven't added a yeah, I added it in my post description on Instagram. So if you click that link or on Instagram, if you find it, copy, paste it in your browser, you'll be able to see that video as well. So about part three, I'm gonna do a little repeat of what I said yesterday, and I'm gonna dive into showing you guys some of this proof because I believe that um, I believe that you have to have your facts and everything together. So let's backtrack about this funding freeze that we saw. Now, if you didn't already know, because if I'm being honest, this really did happen super duper fast. It started on January 27th. When this happened, at I would say midnight or before midnight on the 27th, Trump or President Donald Trump released a freeze on all grant funding. And that a freeze was going to take effect on um, on January 28th at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So it was a lot, like I said, this happened quick. A lot of people didn't quite understand why. And the freeze would have impacted so much. It would have been for the not the Medicaid, but the other thing. Uh, I don't think it would have impacted Social Security, but it was gonna freeze the SNAP benefit. So like if you got 10F SNAP food stamps, it was gonna freeze that. It was gonna freeze um, a lot of federal funding that goes to research. So he froze the federal funding for the NIH or the National Institute of Health. Um, and that's for our scientific research. So that's for those people that create medicine. They do the research for scientific medicine and breakthrough. It would have stopped the funding for DEI, LGBTQ, women, business, you name it. It would have stopped it. Um, so I do have notes in front of me, but I'm also going to share my screen in a little bit. But I just wanted to give you guys a backtrack on when this was happening. And on the same day, on the 28th of January, at the same time, 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, a DC judge intervened and said We need to go into review until February 3rd. And after that, on the 29th, the judge, I want to say around between 1 and 2 Central Standard, this is when I got the information. That same judge from DC said that the freeze is disbanded and the federal funding will continue. And the reason why I gave you all of that information before just diving in, because I wanted y'all to know this was the timeline. This is how fast this happened. It was a pause on federal funding, what could have been just a few hours, but it was a threat to shut down a lot of the things that we use currently federal grants for. And so what do we use them for? I'm so glad you asked. This a lot of federal funding is a part of job creation. If you didn't already know, besides your jobs being a part of your corporate circle, nonprofits are part of that as well, because many nonprofits that rely on government funding can also send a stipend for payroll to their employees. So this would have affected that. It was definitely going to take a hit on education. So if you're in the state of Texas, you're very familiar with TASFA, which is the Texas Financial Aid for School, for college. And if and everyone is familiar with FAFSA. Everyone knows that that is a Pell Grant. That would have stopped. Um, Scholarships would have stopped. So with all of this, although it's it's not uh, what am I saying? It's a lot that would have happened in such a short amount of time that would have been a domino effect to affect everyone. And so let me start by saying this also. President Donald Trump, he did it because his goal was to stop the illegal immigrants who are a part of this country, and they are currently getting those benefits from the government, like the welfare, the food stamps, all of that. That's what his main goal was. But I don't think he thought it through, because he didn't see how this would impact everyone. But his main target, because that's been his agenda from when he first got in office 8 years ago, he wanted to push out illegal immigrants from this country, from America. When he said that illegal immigrants were hurting America, but I disagree with that. I'll just say that. And another thing that happened was, we wanted to know if this was ethical, if it was constitutional, if did it break the law. And he did ended up breaking the law. This is what the freeze is for. He broke the law of the Impoundment Act of 1974, which is an act that stops presidents from doing this, from shutting down government programs, as they're called, federal funding, the release of federal funds to the people. And so what is our future? Before I dive into like the over the shoulder for my um for the research that I did on this, sorry Instagram, you won't be able to see this unless you hop over to my YouTube or just catch it on the replay whenever it's over. All right, so what is the fate of grants for our future? This is something that I have definitely been stressing over and over and over, to make sure that you have secured your funding. So we saw just in a short amount of time, in a matter of days, it was a threat to shut down so many programs that the government uses to help its people financially. whether that's job creation, whether that's supporting the mothers and the children, whether that's you getting groceries, whatever it is, or for your job, whatever it is, that could have been easily taken away overnight. And then what would you have done if your nonprofit or your business solely 100% rely on grants from the federal government? You would be up a creek without a paddle. And this is currently the future that we're in now, because this one was not the only threat against grants. I made a video which is also in this description, and in my post Instagram, where with the Fearless Fund, I talk about what's at stake with them, and how if funding on the non-federal level would have been pulled because they would have lost out on their restaurant, then yeah, it would have affected so many historical monuments and part of schools, a part of the culture that we stand for today. Like it's a big deal. It's not, and I also stressed in that particular video how it would greatly and severely impact all blacks and non-black minorities, be it your job, your school, your education, your business, what you want to do in your future. I also linked that video so you can see it as well. And just to say what I'm doing here, to talk about the future, this is why in my courses, this is why whenever I put like my videos, and even you've seen the shorts, you've seen it on Instagram and all over the place, this is why I stress the 70-30 rule. This is why I stress it, and it is a hill I am willing to die on, because the only people that wouldn't have been affected by this, if President Donald Trump were to hypothetically shut down all federal funding for 90 days, because that was a part of his mandate, shutting all federal funding down for 90 days so they can do a sweep to see which uh what funding is legit and what funding is a scam. But what I believe he didn't know is the government has its own people in place for that. That's why they have it. They have so many lawyers, detectives for investigating on there, so they make sure they're not being scammed. And in the event they are getting scammed, they know what to do in order to handle it to get their money back. So that would have already been in place. But I also feel like he kind of mentioned that because it's like, well, that sounds better. In my opinion, I don't have to be right. But when you are trying to target a people to shut down resources for all, this is what unfortunately we get. This right here is what we get. Well, I'm targeting this one group of people, and now everyone is suffering for it. And a lot of people didn't know why until what I just said. So the only people that would not have been affected by this would have been the people on the non-federal. Some non-federal programs depend on federal funding. Philanthropists would not have been affected. Um, Donors would not have been affected. People that know how to rely on donors and philanthropists, also banks would not have been affected either, because and I'm talking about the CPA, which is the client, or not the client, the Community Reinvestment Act initiative. That is a grant, but that grant is pulled from both federal and non-federal funding. So they would have either lessened that money to give away, or they would have just, I don't think the bank would have paid the balance, but I do think they probably most likely would have lessened the balance, because with the CPA, you can take up to $250,000 and for your business, for your, I believe they do it for nonprofit, but I'm not sure. And this is to help you get started. And no, it's not something that you have to pay back to the bank. And it is something to help you start your business. But the CRA is difficult to get. And that's the other things that go with it. There are other sources of funding, but corporate partnerships would have been affected as well if they were not already philanthropists or if they didn't have donors already. So you kind of see the pattern here. The non-federal like is safe, although the competition to get those grants are higher. They're safe because they mainly rely on donors and philanthropists to fund whatever they need to fund, versus the government where a lot of it is taxpayer dollars. So if you ever heard someone say, oh, I'm your boss, you work for me, my tax dollars paid for this, they are absolutely correct because their tax dollars did pay for this. This also, with government funding, it would have affected your city as well as your state. If you live in a state that is anything like the state of Texas, and I live in Houston where I live, we're like a pay as you go state. All of our city funding is just kind of, okay, we're going to build so much and then we're going to wait till next year to build the rest, and then next year comes and build so much and then that's just how we go. That government funding is cut, we cannot expand our roads. We already have a traffic problem here. People keep moving in, which I'm fine with new neighbors, I don't mind, but I mind the traffic. But moving on from there, for indulging with me for a second. Who should you tell and how should you take action? But I don't think I explained the 70-30 rule, so that's what I'm jumping into right now. The 70-30 rule is simply put like this. The funders, the grantors, the investors, the people releasing the funds ask and they want to see 70% of what you've already done in your business or your nonprofit organization already. The business, I will make this disclaimer, it varies because it wouldn't be based necessarily on 70%, no more than what it would be on revenue. Is your business generating money for in order for you to receive this grant funding? And another tip for businesses, if let's just say you just started and you have $0, they do have grants for startups. So you don't have to put any money down, but you will receive funding as long as you do what you say what you're going to do with it for your business to build your business. And correct, you can start with zero money down because you're not putting anything down, and is zero money because you don't have to pay it back. Is zero funding rather. So with that being said, this is what I'm always stressing. You have to show proof of what you've already done. Do you have your crowdfunding, your fundraisers, your philanthropists, your donors? Who is contributing and giving solely to you for that 70%? Who is doing that? Because this is how you build credibility. And this is also your way of telling the funder, like, hey, this is what I've done on my own, but I just need a little bit of help, which is a 30% where grants come from. And it always amazes me as a nonprofit professional, a nonprofit specialist, and a grant writer. It amazes me how many people fight only for 30% and they ignore the 70% of work that they should be doing to build up their donors, and they invest that time into trying to build grants when grants are the last thing you should do, not the first. They're the last or next to last, because the first thing you should be doing is building that 70% capacity for what you will need it for later. And besides, it's a better look for your nonprofit or for your business to have contributed something than absolutely nothing and you're just saying, I'm a nonprofit, an amazing nonprofit, and I help people, so fund my project. Everyone says that. Everyone wants to help. Everyone is a nonprofit who wants to help make the world a greater place. But what is your differentiator and what is your impact? How do you go about that, right? And so who should you tell? You should be telling everyone about this. That is why I said to share this video. Share this video with people that you know so that they can be informed about what's going on. And how do you take action? Prepare. Be in preparation. Don't look for the easy way out. And I have to pop you guys' fantasy bubble. For those of you guys who have a fantasy bubble, I have to pop it because grant funding is free in a sense that you don't have to pay it back, but it's not free in a sense where there's no work involved. You have to work for it. You do have to write out your proposals. You do have to make it make sense. You have to have your budget, your implementation plan, strategy plan, logic model, your measurements, your outcomes, your results. You do have to have this in order to qualify for funding. And another way that you get prepared is by knowing the realities and being realistic about what you're doing and what you can do and how you can contribute. Because if you're not honest with yourself, how can you be honest with the nonprofit leader? How are you going to be able to be honest with them if you're not honest with yourself? I'm all for it. I just started my 501c3 and I'm trying to get $1 million today. I'm for that. But all I ask, I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying put that dream of what you want to do, even at the beginning stages, put that in a plan, a business plan, a strategy plan, a logic model. Make it reality. How will you reach $1 million in your first year with starting with a zero budget? How will you do that? Or maybe if you can't reach the million this year, can you do it? Can you maybe get to 500,000 this year and then next year another 500,000 so you get your million in 2 years? What steps, actionable steps are you doing in order to get prepared? Because it's it's getting real out here. And I do know that grants are the way to success and to secure a lot of things, but at the same time, we do have to be honest, we have to have integrity, and we have to be real. And before I get into the other sources, I just wanted to share some notes. So my sources come from Dr. Beverly Browning. I'm a part of her email list. She sent a video that on on that day, I want to say like the 27th or the 28th of January, Dr. Krista Herlinkis did, where she talked about this. And I looked at I didn't watch the whole thing, so I can't vouch for that, but I do want to share some notes that I got from the video. So this, the pause, the freeze on the grants, this is what would have been at stake. It would have been over $2 trillion, more like $3 trillion, and this would have been in grants and federal loans. 33% would have been from federal funding. And again, this I'm not sure where her video is, but I got this from her video. So I just want to give credit where credit is due. And like I mentioned before, she said what would have been affected are schools. So doesn't matter what school from primary or grade elementary school to college and beyond. So every school would have been affected. Food stamps, student loans, Pell Grants, university research, scientific research. Um, it talks about the Empowerment Act, and that's what I'm going to get to next, and how he was breaking the law. President Donald Trump was breaking the law, and maybe he didn't know that he was because he didn't look into this. It was just my focus is getting rid of the certain group, and I'm gonna do that. And the first thing that gotta go is the federal funding. So, and then these are also what she mentioned in her video. Congress leaders voted this in. They were the one that signed off on it with the president. But then when it hit, they were now saying, oh, it's unconstitutional, it breaks the law. But sir, ma'am, you signed this also. And I feel like that's hilarious because sometimes, like, I think it's just like a thing. It gets some things get lost in translation, or it just it's funny how that happens. It's like, well, since it's not affecting me, at least not right now, it can affect others. What? It's going to affect me? We gotta reverse this. We can't have this. We can't do it. She was saying that this is something they voted for Congress. um, Let me see. Before I get into the pros and cons of this, they were also trying to say that for the 90 days, grants would have been in review for to make sure there were no scams. Um, this also would have affected our Department of Education. Allegedly, they are trying to get rid of the Department of Education. I don't know how true that is, but I would follow the experts who know. But like I said, I'm just going based on what I took notes on. FEMA and SNAP. So for those our friends in California that suffered wildfires and lost everything, FEMA, aka federal funding, was covering that. That would have been stripped from them. And then let me see. A pro to this, because I know everything sounds bad, a pro to this would have been no, not a pro, but there would have been layoffs, there would have been redundancies, there would have been a lot of other stuff saying that it's out for that reason. And she also said this in her video, which I thought was really helpful. Whenever we are talking about this to others, what do we tell them? Because people don't really relate to numbers unless they're an accountant or they're like a mathematician or love numbers. People don't really relate to numbers like they do compassion. You have to be compassionate when you're talking about this. And she gave a great example of saying, hey, do you know that if this were to happen, how my child, if you have children or if you don't have children, I go to school, how this would affect me as a student, how this would affect me as a parent because I'm currently on food stamps. Not so much, do you know that 3 trillion dollars they were trying to stop it. 33% of that, because people are not going to listen to you after that. But just think about how this is going to affect you and go from there. Be realistic. And if you don't believe that you are being affected by it, understand that it's possible that you are and not know it. It's very, very possible. So I'm going to go ahead and get into the articles and other sources that I have. I am going to share my screen. Okay, so let me start off with this. And I Googled this. So for this Impoundment Act of 74, this is what Congress reviews as the executive branch, and it's withholding of budget authority. It requires the president to report promptly to Congress, so they can't do this without Congress. Um, to the Congress of all withholding budget authority and abide by the outcome of the congressional impoundment review process. Although it's a basic framework, this is the Office of Management Budget. So basically, you have to do some digging and some research. This would have needed to have a 45-day period for the funds being withheld. And let me see, withholding pending recession request requiring statement of the exact duration of the proposed year deferrals, elimination of the 25th day waiting period for the Comptroller General can lead the legal proceedings to compel. So this is a process that you have to go through all yourself first. And I don't think he would have had 90 days or more like 45. So it's almost like he doubled it in a way. But what I just kind of read a little bit, and if you see my screen on YouTube, sorry, Instagram, I apologize. But yeah, this is just what this is saying. Like, it's a procedure. The president can't go over Congress's head with this because it's a part of the executive branch. And if you go back to your what junior high, maybe high school government class where we learned about the judicial, executive, and legislative branches and how they all come together and one doesn't have the power over the other. Even the president is bound by this. So this is what we were saying when we said he was breaking the law, because he did this kind of overnight when no one was really awake, or people were gone to bed and no one really knew that, like, hey, let me go and check what Donald Trump is doing, right? President Donald Trump. And he sent it off at 11 a.m. the night before and then mandated to be passed by 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's not enough time for review until that judge stepped in and stopped everything. This is the executive order for it. These were some of the executive orders that he had for, like, restoring the government service, foreign aid, women and gender, the military. So these here are the executive orders. And also, guys, this is public information. So if you go to the federalregister.gov, you can search this in or do what I did, Google it. This was this is what we were talking about in an article by Science, and just by the headline alone, it says Trump hits NIH with devastating freezes on meeting, travel, communications, and hiring. Because again, whenever you are in science and you're doing this, you're going back and forth between countries. This requires you to meet in person with other scientists who are helping you with your research. So that would affect that. And I'm going to tell you why in just a little bit. I think, okay. I thought I saved it, but I guess not. So I highlighted this, but I remember the last place I highlighted it. But let me go back here. If you didn't already know, this has happened before. The Washington State, the state of Washington or DC, for President Donald Trump for the order. This was argued, submitted, and filed back on February 2017. So this is why I said he's done this before and he's tried to do it, but it was the same outcome. And I'm gonna scroll to that one I highlighted. I can't remember what page it was on. Y'all, thank you for your patience. Give me a second to find this. Yeah, this is what I was looking for right here. The Fifth Amendment of the Constitution prohibits government from depriving individuals of their life, liberty, or property without due process of law. U.S. consent amend versus the government may not deprive a person of one of these protected interests without providing notice and opportunity to respond. In other words, the opportunity to present reason not to proceed the deprivation and have them considered. This happened with a Washington student. So if you go with and read this suit, there was a student, and maybe I could find it. It was talking about the visa of that person. Yeah, here it is. So the impact of the executive order was immediate and widespread. It reported that thousands of visas were immediately canceled. Hundreds of travelers with such visas were prevented from boarding airplanes bound for the United States or denied entry on arrival, and some travelers were detained. 3 days later, on January 30th, 2017, the Washington filed suit to the U.S. District State for the Western District of Washington, challenging those sections for that, because basically when he did this, even if you had your visa, even if it was up to date, as soon as you got in the country, your visa was stripped from you and you couldn't get back home. And then I believe it would have been one of those situations where they're asking you for your visa and you're telling them, well, the government has stripped me of it. And they're saying, well, we can't let you in without, or we can't let you go back without your visa, but you're kind of stuck where you are. So these were, some people were international. So whether they were from the US going abroad or abroad coming to the US, their visa was canceled. It was stopped, and it took them 3 days to reverse this so they can go home. And this is that article I was saying about where the federal judge temporarily blocked the plan for the pause on spending aid. And right here, it was saying that they, on the same day, they needed time to review the freeze. So they went to that, um, they did this, they said that hearing was going to take place on 11 a.m. Monday. I'm believing that's Eastern time. But yeah, they were saying that, hey, you can't do that or give us some time to review. And on that Monday, they reversed it. So that's why there's not a pause on federal funding anymore. Let me see. Also, okay, well, I got the TRO. So this was a temporary restraining order. And this is what it was labeled as. And so this one was recent, January 20th. So that was 10 days ago. And it was called Protecting the Meaning of Value of American Citizenship. That's what he called it. And this was an emergency notion for 14 days for a temporary restraining order. So, like I said, all of this happened like super duper fast. And so it was saying that the order harms the plaintiff states directly by forcing state agencies to lose federal funding and incurs substantial costs to provide essential and legally required medical care and social services to resident children. Subject matter to the order, plaintiff states residents are also irreparably harmed by depriving them of their constitutional right to citizenship and all associated rights and benefits, including subjecting them to risk of deportation and family separation, depriving them of access of federal funding for Medicare and eligibility for basic public benefits that prevent child poverty and promote child health and impacting their education, employment, and health. So again, he did this for one group, but we felt the domino effect. And this is how, let me see, I think that's it. Yeah. So this is how it ended. The executive order will directly impact plaintiff states, immediately increasing unrecoverable costs for providing essential Medicare and social services to states' residents and creating substantial administrative burdens for state agencies that are forced to comply with the order. And that's why they stopped it, because even they're saying, hey, this is, you targeting them, but this is affecting us. This is affecting the, I would go on to say, the people who are disabled, or that they rely on this, or like even maybe possibly VA benefits, or the VA might have been spared, I'm not sure. But for the people that rely on it, who have disabilities, wheelchair bound, or amputees, they would have been affected by this as well. So this also, I wanted to point out, although he was trying to make it an immigrant thing, it became everybody is affected thing. And here's an email that I got from the Texas Comptroller of Public Accounts. I am a CPA for them. um, so yeah, this is one of their emails. It wanted to know, like, because I live in the state of Texas, they wanted to know how this would affect us and what we would do to keep up with it. And how this is saying, the infrastructure, including water, transportation, broadband, power resources, that would have also affected that. Because it's not just the people and the benefits, it's also everything else. So without government funding with our cities, our water would be contaminated. We wouldn't have readily available and filtered drinking water like we do now. So again, this is a little scary to kind of say, "Oh my goodness, I'm I'm not one to fearmonger, but it's a little scary to say that he wanted to pause this for 90 days and the effect that an uproar that it would have brought on everybody that's living here in the US." So I'm not um telling you what side to take. I'm not, this is not propaganda, but I am just saying, by doing this little bit of research that I did in a short amount of time that I did it in, this is what is at stake. And I just want to make sure I reviewed everything with you guys. Yes, I did. And so I don't want this video to be too much longer. I do have an offer for you guys. Okay, so here it is. I want to offer you guys a chance to just get prepared, get ready the right way. Get prepared, get ready, because you're gonna need this. This is something you're gonna need. You're gonna need to know about fundraising. You're gonna need to know about grants and other sources of funding. Do not, and I'm telling you this as a grant professional, you should not be relying 100% on grants for reasons like this. Excuse me. I'm not saying that grants are a bad thing, but you do need to have a contingency or a backup plan that you've already implemented, that you know is going to work. And also, by doing this the right way and doing it yourself, and with a little bit of help, I'm offering, if you go to my store, I have a Writing Vision store, and what my store is, um let's see. You know what? Let's go to my store. Yeah, let's do that. I'm about to get the site for it. Is this one. I just didn't want y'all to see my back office. It's messy back there. So this is what I'm offering. Of course, I'm gonna update this code because this code is no longer functioning. I just had a sale that ended, but I have it here. I have my courses that I teach you what you need to do in order to build your foundation from the ground up. I also mentioned the 70/30 rule and how you should not, funding should not be coming from your pocket. You should not be self funding to sustain your nonprofit or your business. These are some of the workbooks I have available. And this is all to help you get ready and prepared the right way from ground level. That's my alarm, guys. I also have these templates. What do you need to say to, like, if you're a nonprofit or a business and you're asking for corporate sponsorship, corporate partnership? What does that look like? If you are trying to request in kind, or if you need an acknowledgement letter, or if you're asking for a donation, what is it like for your annual corporate partners or your sponsorships for your nonprofit and your business? I talk about all of that with this. So you have tools, you have resources, you have checklists. I also have from my, oh I gotta put my outlines back, because what I do is my outline from my workshops, I usually put my outlines on there. And I also have my ebooks as well. I have bundles of ebooks, and I just have my regular ones. So what am I saying? The resources are out there, and I would say invest in yourself in order to um, get these resources. Go ahead and invest in yourself. If you have questions, you can always call me, reach out to me. I don't know if I had any comments. I'm just double checking. None on Instagram and none on YouTube, which is fine. But I just wanted to let you guys know. I also did a workshop for essential grant components masterclass. I did that. The masterclass is on demand, or it should be on demand in my store. I'm going to double check because my master class is free, but my mastermind, it's a fee for that. And I just want to make that known. So help yourself by getting in these resources. Also, SCORE is a very good resource. Let's just say that you You just don't have the budget for me right now. You're like, oh, I know it's not expensive. I just can't afford it, and that's fine. Go to Score. Go to Score Houston chapter because they have so many resources on what you can do with zero money to start your nonprofit, to start your business. They can I don't want to say they will help you set your business up. They will suggest things but not help. And I'm speaking that because I was asked that question. So they will guide you in the right direction for your as far as your business is concerned, but they won't be able to tell you which forms to fill out, what business type what business type you need, what nonprofit type setup that you need. But I will tell you guys this. I believe it's still true for LLCs. They are still favored with grant funding. Most LLCs get grant funding, and that's I'm talking about personal experience for myself, because I'm an LLC. And another thing is, and again, this is not, I'm not telling you to get an LLC. I'm just letting you know as a suggestion how you can get funded with either very little or no down and start your business like this. Another thing is when you're for your nonprofit, when Score helps you do that, suggests to you the setup, or if not the setup, resources. Follow their resources. Contact them for that. Another great resource that you can do is just in your local city. Your local city has free events all the time that your tax dollars are paid for, that they tell you where grant funding is. They tell you how to get involved with your city in order to get some of grant funding. And lastly, one more thing I was going to say, um I already said it's at the banks. It's in your government, your state government. Also, you would have to call in those grants to get it. And lastly, I want to say, if you're going to get your LLC, it's $25 in the state of Texas, and it's $16 as it for a DBA. You can also get your nonprofit DBA for $25 in the state of Texas. Find out, every state has a secretary of state of your state. And I got this information from my secretary of the state of Texas, where I reside. Call them. They are a free resource. They won't help you with business. They will guide you as well, but call them. They're located in Austin. If you're not in the state of Texas, call your local secretary of your state. Call your comptroller. Every state has a comptroller. Call them, talk to them, get some, ask the question, and if they can't answer it or answer it to the best of their ability, go with that. Because a lot of this information that I'm reiterating, I got from them. I got it from them. Get your notepad or get your keyboard, type out everything, write it down, so you'll have that information too. And another great free resource besides that are giveaways, contests. If they have like different kind of money contests, utilize your talents in order to try to win those contests. So funding is out there. It's everywhere. It's not just in only one blocked or pocketed source. It's all over the place. You just got to know where to look. And I hope this video helped you guys. I know it was a little lengthier than my other videos, but I really do hope this helped you guys, because that's what I want to do. That's the cliche to my cliche. I do want to help others, but I also don't believe that to invest in a course, you should be paying so much. I don't think, I feel like that would have been reserved for those people who are buying into your high ticket items, but I don't think every grant course is will cost you something, but I don't think it should cost you a substantive amount of money that's going to break the bank. That I'll leave it at that. So I am going to have another sale, but if you want to get in on this now with my store, but yeah, get in on it. Tell your friends about it. You can do this. You can get the funding that you need, that you deserve, that you want. You can get it. It's out there. But when you are prepared and when you're prepared the correct way, this is what also happens. This is the thing that happens. When you're prepared the right way, you do get access to that funding. Because think about it, from one professional to another. When was the last time you walked into a bank, show of hands, not all at once, please, not all at once, but when was the last time you walked into a bank with $0 and they gave you a loan and they told you to pay it back whenever you felt like it? I'll wait. I would say it's still not free money if some of you guys are like, credit cards, yeah, that's free. You buy now and pay later. It's not free. But when was the last time they said, for let's just say a $3,000 loan, you walked out of that bank, you didn't have to pay nothing down, you left, and then they told you to pay it back absolutely whenever. Because when I got a bank loan, I had to go through a process of proving that I was working. I had to go through a process so they can check my credentials. I had to show them my where I lived. I have to show them my salary and how much I was making. I had to also, besides telling them how much I was making, I had to show that I can repay this loan. And then they gave me a certain amount to pay every month and a certain amount of years to pay it off. So again, if your bank is just handing out free money, I don't have to, they just giving it away. Let me know so I can make a trip down there right now. It's raining right now. I will go in the rain and go get my money. But until then, guys, y'all stay safe. I hope I didn't take too much of your time today, but it's very important that we know that we grants are meant to be used as a tool. They're not meant to replace your income in the sense of if you are working for someone. They're not meant to do a lot of things that we believe it ought to do. So I want you guys to keep that in mind and look into my store, look into my courses. Watch out for whenever I do have another sale coming up before the summer. I just don't remember when it is. But whenever it is, I will keep you guys posted. Of course, I'm going to put everything in the comments, how to get in touch with me, how to get in contact with me in the description. And y'all, please like, share, subscribe, follow for more. And yeah, y'all take care. This has been Brittney C, non-private strategist and SCORE Houston Workshop presenter and CEO of Right Division Plainly LLC. And I just want to see you guys do better. I want to see you guys succeed. And I also know that you guys can get positioned. So take care and stay tuned for the next video.